So I have a list of things that I'd like to talk about. And this was like my list that I've been compiling over the past couple weeks because I haven't put out a video recently. Just because life gets insane sporadically right now. But if you have anything that you'd like to talk about, drop it in, jump in, whatever, man, and we can talk about it. So I'll just get started with the first thing I wanted to talk about. And if you have any thoughts on it, that would be awesome. This is a thing called post-project depression. And I didn't even know that was a thing. And maybe everybody else but me knew that was a thing. But not knowing it was a thing actually left me in a place where I was experiencing it and not really understanding what was going on. And not having the understanding caused it to become worse and made it hard for me to get out of. And because I didn't even know it was happening. And I don't know
Dude,
how
I
many...
didn't even know there was a name for it until today. Like when you said it, I immediately understood what it was, but this is the first time I've heard that there's a name for it.
Awesome. So cool. So I'm actually helping some people. So it's the thing. And I think it might be more prevalent in highly productive or highly motivated people, people that just throw every ounce of everything they have into a project. I certainly do that. Like when I'm starting a new company or a new, when I'm making some new technology or whatever, man, I am, I barely sleep. I just stay in my office and I heads down and I concentrate and I hyper focus, and whatever it takes, I will do for years at a time if that's what's necessary. And, my last two companies, I basically disappeared for almost 3 years. Came home to kiss the wife and go to sleep. And when those companies, when I was done with that, I fell into like a year and a half long, and it was bad. And I didn't know why, and I didn't understand what was going on, but I lost all motivation, and like a loss of motivation is a big sign of depression. Like I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't have any motivation to do anything. I don't know. I just like a little bit antisocial. I didn't want to talk to anybody or go anywhere or do anything. And I just felt like I was directionless. Like I had this plan, and every day I would get up and I'd bust ass really hard on whatever I was working on. And I'd come home and I'd go to sleep with the contentment of a job well done. And I'd wake up the next day and I'd hit it again, and I loved that challenge and that competition. And then when I didn't have that, it was like, it was just like the bottom falls out from under life. I'm rudderless. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing anymore. And I was depressed, and I didn't know I was depressed at the time. And when you're in it, sometimes it's hard to identify it. So that is a thing. It's called post-project depression. When you work really hard on something and you finish, you're left in a place where suddenly you don't have something to accomplish every day anymore. So do you have any thought? Do you have any thoughts on that before I kind of go ahead?
Oh, I've experienced it multiple times, and it's funny that you mentioned your work habits because I'm the same way, man. I'm a musician as well, so in the past when I've recorded CDs or written albums, it's no sleep. I don't even need to eat, which is strange because I get really fucking nasty when I don't eat normally. But if I'm in the middle of something like that, I can just go. I think a lot of the depression, I don't know if you know Wilco, but Jeff Tweedy from the band Wilco said, half the fun is recording the music. You get all these visions and ideas of the future and it's making it. And then when it's done, it's like all that stuff is over, all that kind of flow you were in is now over. It's kind of like, I don't know. It's kind of like postpartum depression in a way, I think. You give birth to something, a creative project, and then there's just nothing,
Miss Coco in the comments just said post-graduation depression. Yeah.
Yeah.
Same kind of thing. Go ahead,
anytime a big thing finishes where you pour yourself into it, it's I don't know, there's and then I find myself to be very critical after a project is done. Like during the working on a project, I might think, oh, this is the greatest shit ever. Like it's going to be, revolutionary. And I'm done and I made something nice, but I'll, in that post-project depression, often mercilessly start attacking what I just made in my thoughts, and that contributes to the lack of motivation. But yeah, first time I've heard the actual term, but makes total sense to me.
Yeah, and so I did a bunch of reading on it, and I came up with a list of things to like help get around that, and I wanted to share these and get feedback. Bastiat says, it happens especially when it doesn't go to plan. That is absolutely true. So if you bust your ass really hard on something for months or years, and then it fails, wow, that's a big blow. I have been there. I've experienced that for sure. So I've got like 5 notes of things to do to sort of, first of all, recognize what's happening. Like you just finished a major accomplishment or a major project, and now you're in this place where you don't have a direction every day when you wake up. The first thing is to like reorganize and reassess. So you take a step back, you look at your life, you maybe clean your room, as Jordan Peterson would say, take times to catch up on stuff like that. Reorganize your plan for where you want to be in the next, 6 months or next year or something like that. Number 2 is relax, recover, and reward yourself. So like do give yourself a break, because if you have a little bit of downtime, you will be able to hit the next project much harder. And it's also good to like give yourself some space to no longer feel that daily pressure, of, oh, well, I've got a bunch of people at the office depending on me, so I got to get up and bust ass even if I don't feel like it. Well, now you got to have a vacation sometimes, and not enough people take time off. But also I wrote down, if you're going to like have a vacation, put a time limit on it, because the thing that the depression does, at least it did to me, was it saps your motivation to go ahead and start the next thing. So I think it's important to just like set a time. Like, okay, I'm going to take some time off for a month. And then after a month, I got to be ready to go again. But for this month, put the phone down, put the email down, whatever.
Yeah, what's weird about that too, Patrick, is if you take that time, a lot of times when you take the expectation off yourself, you'll get that fire that will come right back in the midst of that time, because you're not pressuring yourself, So that natural flow a lot of times comes right back, I think.
Yeah, exactly. The third one was reconnect with your relationships. So when I'm in my flow mode, my bust ass heads down mode, I don't have as much time for friends and fun and, fireworks and parties or whatever. It falls by the wayside while I'm in that focus mode. So when you're in these down times, take time, like plan it, like reconnect with the people that are important to you and maintain those connections, because that will also go a long way to helping stave off any like depression type stuff. So that's good for you and good for those relationships. And I'm sorry, this is kind of I don't usually talk about this stuff on my show, but this one like hit home, and it was like something that happened. It's happened to me personally, and I just wanted to share this. It's kind of squishy stuff, but I hope you don't mind. It's
important, man.
Yeah. 2 more. Number 4, catch up with what you love doing. So if when you're focusing, you let your hobbies go to the wayside. You don't keep up with your painting or your, motorcycle riding or whatever it is that you do. Like reconnect with those. Take time out of your day to get back into the hobbies that you enjoy doing. Gaming. Like when I am a gamer, like I love video games. The people that are in our Discord server have been playing recently with me quite a bit. But when I'm working on a company or a product or something, like video games cease to exist, and I forget that video games exist even after the project's over. So it's good to like slow down and be like, hey, I get to play a video game again now. And really, again, this all kind of helps that depression stuff not sink in so hard and get you stuck. Because like depression just feels like getting sucked into like a quicksand. It's like everything slows down. You don't want to move because it's hard. This stuff kind of keeps you out of that. Number 5, the last one, and then we'll move on. Sorry about this. Is create and execute a plan to get started on the next big thing. So actually, like, start working on something else. Starting the next thing is one of the biggest things that I think you can do to stop from getting stuck in the quicksand. So those are my 5 tips for post-project depression, and I'm glad that people now know it's a thing that might not have. So
totally, and I would say don't get so hell bent on producing something or or doing something. So you're pressuring yourself. Like you said, go back to your hobbies. Like a lot of times your projects come from what you fucking enjoy. And then you can get so much into this pattern. I got to push. I got to do something. I got to write this article. I got to do something else. And just the other day, I just went out and took a walk, man. And I bought a whiskey highball and just walked around and looked at the grass, And then after that, I wanted to write again. So, I think it's stuff like that I think those 5 tips are pretty good, actually. So maybe a lot of people need to hear that.
And I haven't even like taken like real, just like a whiskey highball and walking around looking at grass. That sounds like a good day. I'm a little jealous. I should do that.
Yeah.